What up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube subscribers, Twitter and Instagram followers, or in this case, I should say, general NFL fans. Welcome into my first round mock draft, the NFL mock draft that is video. You guys already know this is a Giants-based channel for any new viewers. I have a 6-round Giants-only, Giants-specific mock draft already out that I had out, I want to say, around 2 weeks ago. Go check that out if you are a Giants fan or if you just want to see what I did there. It was a very heavily edited, animated, and scripted video. One of probably my proudest videos that I ever put out. Definitely go look at that. But this right here is for the general, fans, the general public. This is for you guys. Let's get into it, man. Let's see what we got here. So with the first pick in the 2021 NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars got Trevor Lawrence, and this is no surprise, all right? The draft really starts at 2. I don't really need to spend too much time on this. I think we all know that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Jaguar, at least at this point in the process. So with the number 2 pick, the New York Jets are up, and they select, in my opinion, Zach Wilson. Now, this is, of course, if the Jets do not get the guy that has been connected to them for the past couple weeks in Deshaun Watson, and this is, of course, if they move on from Sam Darnold. And literally the entire year, it just seems like, or throughout the entire draft process and offseason process, it seems like the Jets are ready to move on from Sam Darnold. Now, of course, the big debate is Zach Wilson versus Justin Fields, and honestly, it's up to your preference. I have Wilson as the number 2 quarterback as of right now in the class, and I do think that teams might look at Fields' performance in the playoffs, particularly the national championship game, and see his struggles and may be a bit put off from that. But more importantly, they may just be put off from the fact that Ohio State QBs have yet to work out in the NFL. I'm hoping Justin Fields proves us all wrong because I want him to be a good quarterback in the NFL, but I do think Zach Wilson is going to be the guy that goes number 2 to the Jets. And then at number 3, we have the Miami Dolphins, who are another team that's been connected to Deshaun Watson, and I really hope that they don't get him because I want to see Tua Tagovailoa work out. I mean, they tanked basically 2 years straight for this dude. And so with their 3rd pick, I have them going, kind of a surprise here to some people, Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon. And in my opinion, this should be a no-brainer pick. All right, I know the Dolphins need a wide receiver, and in fact, a lot of teams in this draft need a wide receiver, including my Giants. It's a deep wide receiver class. They can get one with their second first-round pick because they have more than one first-round picks. What they can't get is a top-tier tackle at number 18. In my opinion, and with this dude, the way that scouts are talking about Penei Sewell, talking about him being possibly the best tackle in the past couple years coming out of the NFL draft. Now, to be fair, they say that every year about each tackle, but Sewell, as of right now, is that clear-cut guy, and he is a top 5 prospect in the draft. You want to protect Tua, you want to keep him healthy, and it's also just a good idea to improve your offensive line. Sewell should be a no-brainer pick here, and they could get their wide receiver later on. Then at number 4 overall, the Falcons are up, and this is a very interesting one. I've seen people mocking quarterbacks to the Falcons, which is not completely out of the idea. I could see them taking a Fields here. I could see them taking maybe a Lancer if they really want to reach, but I could see them taking a QB at some point in this draft and then having him sit behind Matt Ryan for a year and then them kind of blowing it up or something and then trying to rebuild over there in Atlanta. It's really just been downhill ever since the Super Bowl 51. But that isn't really their only need right now. If you could call quarterback a need, we're not sure if they're going to rebuild yet. Corner is a huge need for them, and so I got Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech going to the Falcons, and he's somebody that's rose a lot in the past couple weeks, going from the number 2 corner to a lot of people, including myself, now see him as the number 1 corner in the draft, and him at number 4 I think does make sense to the Falcons. And then we're here at number 5 with the Bengals, and the Bengals have quite a few needs. In fact, if I didn't have him going to the Falcons, I actually would have had the Bengals taking Farley here because their defense right now, to strengthen their defense, is in their secondary, particularly their safeties. But I got a reunion going on here with the first receiver coming off the board and the guy who I think is the number 1 in this class, Jamar Chase, to the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's going to be reunited with Joe Burrow, and they had a great connection in college. I expect them to have a great connection here in the NFL. Now, the Bengals is wide receiver their number 1 need. Not particularly. I think it's probably like number 2 or 3 for those of you who are asking. I mean, AJ Green is going to retire. They do have T. Higgins. They do have Tyler Boyd. Higgins, in my opinion, has to show me a little bit more before I could see him as a number 1. Boyd is definitely a number 2, number 3 type of guy. Jamar Chase is going to come in and be that straight up number 1, and him and Burrow with healthy Joe Mixon is going to be absolute fire. Now we're moving on to the number 6 pick with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I got them taking Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. Now it must be said, all of the allegations and stories coming out about Parsons right now, nobody's too sure about how it's going to affect him and how he's going to drop. If I'm being honest with you, I do think he does drop, because we saw years ago the Wii thing made Laramie Tunsil drop, but it's been a year since then, so hopefully the NFL has learned their thing. We'll see how that plays out, but if it doesn't affect him, Micah Parsons is completely the pick for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know they need wide receiver help, but they've needed linebacker help for a lot longer. The amount of times Eagles fans in particular have complained about their middle linebacking core, and the amount of times the Eagles have ignored that position in the draft is too heinous, and this is a pick to be made here. Then at number 7, the Detroit Lions. I got them picking Jalen Waddle, who is, in my opinion, the second-ranked wide receiver in the class, although it's close between him and Devontae Smith, of course, out of Alabama. And now Waddle, a lot of people got him dropping into the teens maybe. I don't see that happening, man. I think a lot of teams know that the number 1 receiver of Alabama was Jalen Waddle. The reason Devontae Smith took over and had that great season was because Waddle went down, and that's not taken away from either prospects. They're both great, but Jalen Waddle was the number 1 at Alabama. He was the guy that offense was ran through. I think teams are going to recognize that, and I think they're going to recognize he's a true explosive threat in the NFL. And if Detroit goes with a wide receiver, it's going to be him. Then at number 8, the Carolina Panthers, I got them taking Justin Fields, quarterback out of Ohio State. Now, of course, quarterback is a top need for the Panthers in this offseason. I don't think that they're going to stick with Teddy Bridgewater. And even if they do, I'm going to be scratching my head, because at that point, I'm going to be asking myself, when are you going to get another chance to get a quarterback like this within the top 10 picks? And with Justin Fields sitting there, no brainer. Number 9, we got the Broncos, and I have them taking Patrick Surtain, cornerback out of Alabama. A lot of people view this guy as number 1. Like I said, him and Caleb Farley kind of been flip-flopping a little bit, but Surtain to the Broncos, it just makes sense. Denver has always been, over the past couple of years, a team known for their defense. They're trying to rebuild that defense and getting back to that Bronco level, and part of that is rebuilding the secondary, which has been weak in the past couple of years, and Surtain is a good fit for them. A nice way to continue to build on there with Bradley Chubb from a couple years ago, and he fits quite well as well. Then at number 10, we got the Cowboys, and the Cowboys, I have them. This is kind of, I'm not sure how people are gonna feel about this. If you watch my live streams with Diggy and Kid Blue, you guys already know about this, but I got them taking Kwity Paye, the edge out of Michigan, first edge off the board at number 10 to Dallas. And kind of like the Bengals pick, if Surtain didn't go to the Broncos, I would have had Surtain go to Dallas. But I think that they are working out their secondary issues. They're going to see how it progresses in their second year there with Diggs. But Kwity Paye as an edge to go beside DeMarcus Lawrence, I think is going to be somebody that he could learn from, somebody that he could try and maybe model his game after. Paye is, in my opinion, the best edge in this class, particularly in a 4-3 system. He's not meant for a 3-4. So Giants fans, if you got that in your mind, I don't think it's going to work out. But he will do great in a 4-3 system like the Cowboys. And we're not sure exactly how they're going to move forward. Randy Gregory, I mean, Gregory does have fresh legs, but he is a bit older, so we'll see how that goes. Then with the 11th overall pick in the NFL draft, the Giants select Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. I had this in my Giants-specific mock draft that I talked to you guys about. I'm probably going to throw up a clip right now of that. Definitely go check it out. And I'm going to stick with it at least until the near future, until I see something that tells me Devontae Smith can't drop to us. And there's not much to say here. We need a playmaker. We need a number 1 wide receiver. Smith is there. We're taking him. San Francisco with the 12th pick takes Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. And they are looking for a new quarterback. Who would have thought, man? Jimmy Garoppolo had his chance last year in the Super Bowl and absolutely squandered it. Had a chance to close it out and win the 49ers another one. Could not do it. And he's just not the answer at quarterback for those guys. And a lot of NFL teams are realizing that these, very average QBs that they have and that might have overpaid are not the answer at that position. 49ers are one of them. They have a stupendous defense. They have good enough weapons. They have a good enough offensive line. All they need is a quarterback, and they can make a run. Chargers at pick 13. I have them taking Rashawn Slater, the second best tackle in this class. You got a great guy back there in Justin Herbert. You're going to want to protect him. Your offensive line is kind of suspicious. This makes sense. Same thing for Christian Darrisaw to the Vikings at pick 14. Not necessarily in the sense of you got a great guy back there. Now, Kirk Cousins, he's very questionable. He's probably one of those guys I mentioned, average QB being paid not so average money. That's just me. But their offensive line needs improvement. It seems like every single year the Vikings offensive line needs improvement, and I'm going to give them the third tackle in this class in Darrisaw. Then with the Patriots at 15th overall, I have them taking Kyle Pitts, tight end, out of Florida. And I know, kind of going back to Giants fans, a lot of Giants fans wanted this guy at 11. I think that he could go anywhere from 10 to 15. I think any one of these teams in that range could take him, as much as I, as a Giants fan, don't want him. But the Patriots need weapons, kind of like the Giants do. But the Patriots just need any weapons, man. Whether it's a wide receiver or a tight end or, you know, a running back that can catch. The Patriots just haven't had weapons for a good 2 to 3 years now. Pitts is somebody that they will definitely take, no doubt, especially to fill in the tight end spot that's been left vacant essentially since Gronk left town. Moving on to pick 16 in the draft, the Arizona Cardinals. Looking at it, you see their needs. They're usually, it's something like, you know, offensive tackle, corner, maybe an edge rusher. And when you line up those with the available players at 16th overall, at least on this draft board, it makes sense for one J.C. Horn, the cornerback, to go to Arizona. Now, I don't think Pat Pete is going to leave Arizona, even though his, you know, his second contract might be a bit pricey. I think he's going to be one of those guys that retires with the team that he was drafted with. But the one person I think that might leave or that could be replaced is definitely Drake Kirkpatrick. And J.C. Horn is one of the top corners in this class. He'll definitely have a good time over there in an Arizona Cardinals team that has a, quite frankly, a really good, great secondary. He's going to be completely immersed in around great secondary players, and that's just going to be a great start to his career. Then at 17th overall, we got the Las Vegas Raiders and his Gruden Grinders. John Gruden takes Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the second best linebacker in this class, and I think this is a match made in heaven. The Raiders defense, in my opinion, is sneaky good, and it's like when you look at it, it's like that, you know what, they have a bit of an edge rushing, you know, ability. They definitely have, you know, a solid interior line. Their secondary is young and budding over there. Maybe it's their linebackers that could use a bit improvement, and Owusu makes sense. He's, you know, one of the best linebackers in this class, fits around this part of the draft right here, mid first round, and with the Raiders taking him, match made in heaven. Then with the 18th pick, we go back to Miami. Like I said earlier, they could get their wide receiver with their second first round pick, and that's exactly what they do here. With the 18th overall, they take Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota. This is an extremely underrated guy. Now, I don't think he's necessarily on the level of the top 3, but he's not that far off, and to be honest with you, he's going to be a great wide receiving weapon for the Dolphins, or honestly for any team that gets him. I don't think he's gonna last past, say, the number 20th overall pick, because the team after this in Washington, if Miami did not take him, Washington would have 100% taking Rashad Bateman, man. I wouldn't be surprised if a team trades down or trades up for him. That's just the type of player he is. And speaking of Washington at 19th overall, this was kind of a hard team to pick for. I mean, their defense is completely set, so I was kind of stuck on the offensive side of the ball to try and decide what they could use. And so I'm just like, I'm gonna give them a nice, good tackle in Alex Leatherwood. You can never use too much offensive line help, and I do think that Leatherwood has the potential to come in and be an immediate starter at Washington. If not at the left side, then maybe at the right, but he's somebody that will be a great addition to this team. I will admit, I was looking wide receiver here, but I didn't really want to reach too much on anybody else. If Bateman dropped, he would have definitely been the pick. And then I got the most interesting pick of the draft, at least of mine here, with the Chicago Bears at pick 20. I got them going Gregory Rousseau, the edge out of Miami. And Rousseau in general has been a very interesting player to look at. He went from being the top ranked edge and a top 10 prospect very early on to the process into now somebody that's slipping so far that I've seen him going in the second and even third rounds of the draft. Now, can I see him going to second? Absolutely. Third, maybe not so much. Why is that? He's a complete project player, and in the year that we are in the circumstances that we're in, very similar to last year's draft, where you cannot go to a pro day, and this year there is no NFL combine. You can't really examine these players as much as you would want to. Taking a project guy is a completely big risk that a lot of teams don't want to take, especially in the first round, and that's really why Greg is dropping. And In addition to that, he only has 1 year of playing at the college football level, so he has a lot to improve upon. But if he goes to the Bears, you're talking about learning from somebody like Khalil Mack potentially, and I think that's a great teacher and a great mentor to look towards, to one of the best, if not the best, edge rushing talent in the entire NFL. And I could just see it happening. I could see the Bears taking this guy and making him their potential future edge rusher, but we'll see. Then with pick 21, we got the Indianapolis Colts, who are definitely going to be looking for a quarterback in the offseason with Phillip Rivers retiring. But at this point in the draft, I don't think they'd really reach on anybody. Maybe they take a Mac Jones, who knows? But I got them taking Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. This is another team that could definitely use another receiving weapon with T.Y. Hilton aging a bit. And I also I think the Colts are going to get a wide receiver in free agency or trade, I should say. I think this is one of those teams, they're really set right now. They're at a point in their, I guess you should say, franchise, where they're either looking to make a couple more runs and try and get that Super Bowl, or they're going to start to blow it up eventually. I don't think it's time for them to blow it up yet. I mean, this team is really good on the defensive side of the ball. One of the best defenses this past year in the NFL, and underrated on the offensive side, and with a couple more weapons could be really good. They just need that quarterback, and I don't think you should be looking for that quarterback right now in the draft if they're looking to make a run, and I do think the Colts are going to be looking to make a run. So Kadarius Toney here. And then with the Titans at 22, Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, the edge rusher, and this is another edge rusher that's been rising kind of like Kwity Paye. Don't be surprised if he goes as the second edge rusher in the class, because like I said, Greg Rousseau could definitely drop that much. And Azeez to the Titans makes sense because we don't know what's going to happen exactly with Jadeveon Clowney. And if Clowney does leave, Azeez comes in. He's going to be the number 2 next to Harold Landry. He could develop well. I could see it happening. Then at 23 overall, we're back with the Jets, another team that has multiple first-round picks. I got them taking the first running back off the board, the number 1 running back in the class, and Najee Harris out of Alabama. Now, there's been a little cap rolling around saying that Harris is like the number 2 running back. Don't get it twisted. He's the best running back in this class, and he's going to be a good fit for the Jets, who, after the whole Le'Veon Bell experiment didn't work out, they're definitely going to be looking for a replacement. Harris here makes a lot of sense. He's going to be good. I mean, I don't know what to tell y'all. Alabama running backs almost always work out in the NFL. He's going to be a good one for the Jets, should they, learn and continue to build up on that offensive line. Then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at 24th overall. I have them taking AVT, Elijah Vera Tucker, an offensive lineman, particularly inside offensive lineman in the draft. And the Steelers definitely need offensive line help, especially after their playoff debacle against the Browns, man. That offensive line was getting dominated left, right, and center. Speaking of, their center looked absolute garbage. They need offensive line help. AVT is listed in some places as a tackle. He's more so of an inside guy. Whatever the case is, they'll take him. And then we got the Jaguars at 25th overall. This is another team that could use a wide receiver, and I was thinking, should I reach on a Terrence Marshall, even though it's not really that much of a reach because he would go second round. This is late first, but instead I have them taking Zaven Collins, the linebacker out of Tulsa, and I know that they got Miles Jack. I recognize that, right? And I still think that they're going to have Miles Jack, but Collins, he's going to definitely be the number 2 linebacker over there. It's not like they need edge help, in my opinion. I think you should let Chason and Allen develop. Secondary help was definitely an option here. I could see them going Tyson Campbell or Eric Stokes, but I went linebacker, particularly because I think they're going to want to shore up that spot if, worst comes to worst and they get rid of the last piece from that great 27 defense, which is Miles Jack, but it's not a bad pick at all here. Now we're getting into the last stretch of the draft here, 26th overall. Got Christian Barmore going to the Cleveland Browns, and man, can I just tell y'all real quick, Barmore is one of my favorite players in this draft because this dude's a beast. He, Alabama defensive lineman, and Alabama has always had stellar defensive linemen. I, as a Giants fan, know that with Dalvin Tomlinson. This dude has the build and body of Dalvin Tomlinson, but he has the skill set and pass rushing ability of somebody like Chris Jones or something. Like, he's not built like a pass rushing defensive tackle. He looks like a run stuffer, but he is an absolute monster and a pest when it comes to wrecking offensive lines and getting into the backfield, and going to be a great addition to that, that good defensive line of Cleveland there. Then at 27th overall with the Ravens, they need wide receiver help, so I gave them Rondale Moore out of Purdue. And any wide receiver that they take here is going to help, whether it's Moore, whether it's Marshall, whether it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. You guys saw in that playoff game against the Bills, when Lamar was running around, creating extra time, creating more space, he's looking for a wide receiver and nobody could get open. Give the man a weapon, or at least another weapon. Then we got the Saints at 20th overall, a very interesting one here. I went Joseph Aside, the edge rusher out of Texas. Some of y'all might be saying they don't need an edge rusher. They got 2 of them. In response to that, I'm going to say the Saints are like, what, negative $120 million in the cap. They're probably going to cut Cam Jordan. That's just something I'm going to throw out there. Maybe it's a hot take. Maybe it isn't. They're going to need a way to create cap space. And Cam Jordan is definitely eating up a good amount of that cap space. And if they do get rid of him, Joseph Osai will be that replacement. Then we come up to the Green Bay Packers at 29th. And Packers really need a second weapon. They really do. I'm not going to lie to y'all. They could definitely use it. And I could 100% see them going Terrence Marshall Jr. out of LSU here to the Packers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been asking or been needing that second weapon for years now. It would be kind of stupid if they ignore it anymore. So even if it's a little bit of a reach, I could see it happening here. Then with the Bills at 30th, we got Sam Cosmi, offensive tackle. And the Bills are one of those teams, and honestly the last 3 teams there where it's like, man, what are really your needs? What do I give you? Right? I'm trying to think. Edge is definitely one. And they can definitely take an edge here, but I don't know. I think it might be a bit of a reach to go somebody like a Jalen Phillips, something like that. Jason Owe could definitely make sense, right? But I'm like, you know what? Deion Dawkins and Darrell Williams, you guys do have good offensive tackles. I just gave him Sam Cosmi because I'm like, I think he could come in. He could be, if not really, really good, tackle depth, a potential starter. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Not sure what I should have given the Bills here. And then with the last 2 picks in the draft, picks yet to be decided, but at 31 to 32 respectively, the Buccaneers, Pat Freiermuth, tight end out of Penn State. Their tight end situation after this year is definitely going to be one that might be in question. I don't know. I think Gronk is going to retire after this year for good. I'd be surprised if he stays. And other than that, I'm not sure what the Bucs are doing there. So Pat Freiermuth, I can see it happen. And then the guy I mentioned previously, Jason Owe, the edge out of Penn State, to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, obviously a team where you look at them, it's like, yo, they got no needs. They're just good all over the place. Edge is one of those places that they could probably take a little bit of an improvement. They got Frank Clark, who's aging back there. Maybe bring in Jason Owe and have him take over. Who knows? But that was the first round NFL mock draft for the 2021 season. Let me know what you guys think. Put your thoughts and comments down below, and I'm out.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'll catch y'all in the next one.